Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ, and today I'm coming to you guys with my team recap video of the Baltimore Oriolus, the newest team in the United Battle Championship, the UBC. This is my first time drafting a competitive Pokemon League team, and I think we did a pretty good job. I went into the draft trying to get a really nice balanced team. I think we wound up with a little bit more of a bulky offense with a couple of really stellar utility Pokemon. But before we get into the video, I do want to say I'm unfortunately not on my normal recording computer. I am on a laptop. The reason for that is I'm actually in between houses. I'm moving to a brand new state, to a brand new job, and it's going to be really great, but unfortunately, until our new house is ready, we're kind of stuck in limbo. So, if the quality on this video is a little bit lower than normal, I do apologize, but I just wanted to say thanks in advance for bearing with me and sticking it out and watching all the videos anyway. So, just going to go ahead and hop right into our picks here. The things on the screen are shown in the order that they were drafted. So that does mean that Clefable here was our first pick. We had the 6th overall pick out of 10, and so we were in a decent spot. We never had to go too long without making a pick. There weren't too many times where we were tremendously sniped in this draft, and I had a pretty good time in the draft. I took a couple of Pokemon that other people really wanted to take, so it was, not gonna lie, it was a little fun to make them mad and get everybody's favorite Pokemon. And Clefable definitely, I think, was one of those Pokemon that a lot of people were looking to add to their team. Clefable is probably the best utility Pokemon in all of the Smogon tier system. It's got really great moves with Calm Mind, Thunder Wave, Wish, Healing Wish, Aromatherapy, or Heal Bell, whichever. I never remember which one it is, but obviously the ability to remove status is really great. Gets Cosmic Power, gets Magic Code, it gets a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And its abilities also really lend itself to being a really great utility Pokemon. It's got Magic Guard and Unaware, so it can either be immune to status and hazards, or it can take on the scariest sweepers in the game. So Clefable is something that every opponent is going to have to prepare for. The other thing I'd like to mention as well is that Clefable's got a really great move pool. Just off the top of my head, it gets Moonblast, it gets Bolt Beam, it gets Flamethrower, it gets Focus Blast. What are some other great ones? Grass Knot's really nice. Moonlight is a move that you can run on the Unaware set. Psychic and Psyshock, that's both really great. Signal Beam, Shadow Ball. So it gets like every good special move in the game. So that's really pretty nice. So if we, don't need to run all the utility moves on Clefable, we can take advantage of that ridiculous coverage. Maybe we could do like a Calm Mind, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam set, just to tank hits and go for really powerful special attacks in return. We did name our Clefable Neil after Neil Armstrong, of course. Clefable being the moon Pokemon, I thought it was only appropriate that we named it after one of the first men on the moon. So, really excited to be using Clefable. It's a Pokemon that I ladder with a lot, and I'm quite comfortable with it. Next up, we do have Tomahawk, our Mega Sceptile. Now, I did take it with my second pick. I don't think I needed to. I think I could have waited to take this pick, and because there's probably no one else who was going to take it. But I was just so excited to use it, and it was an important part of my draft strategy, so I just didn't want to take the risk that it might not be there in a couple of rounds. Mega Sceptile is a very offensive Pokemon. It's got a ridiculous speed stat at base 145, and I don't think that there are any Pokemon in the league that outspeed it naturally, because Mega Aerodactyl and Mega Alakazam are not in this league. There are Pokemon that speed tie with it in this league, being Excelgor and Mega Beedrill, but otherwise there's nothing that outspeeds this thing without a Choice Scarf or a boost. So this is going to be a really awesome Pokemon to come in, either revenge kill or just clean up late game with its really awesome coverage. And what's really great about it is that it's got great special moves and great physical moves. It gets Leaf Storm, Giga Drain, Dragon Pulse, Focus Blast. Obviously, you can run Hidden Power Fire, or Hidden Power Ice, or whatever you need. But it gets moves like Outrage. It gets Power Up Punch. Holy crap, that's amazing. It gets Quick Attack for some priority. It's a little useful. It gets Leaf Blade as a nice, powerful grass physical attack. It gets Dragon Claw. It gets Earthquake. It gets Rock Slide. So this thing can be either fully physical, fully special. It can be mixed. It also gets Hone Claws and Sword Stance, which is really nice. So, and X Scissor is another nice physical move. So it's just going to be awesome. I can run anything I want and just be in a position where late in the game I can take out every Pokemon that's remaining on my opponent's team if it's been sufficiently weakened. So, really looking forward to using this. We named it Tomahawk because it looks like it's got a little cruise missile on its tail. And we're going to be coming in there and sniping off an opponent's Pokemon. And it's going to be really great. Really looking forward to it. Next up is Bane, the Nidoking. Nidoking is going to be a really great partner for Tomahawk because it weakens a lot of the main checks to Tomahawk. Like Fairy types, Steel types, things like that. And the nice thing about Nidoking too, it's very similar to Sceptile in that it can run both physical and special sets. I think most people, when they think of Nidoking, they think of the special attacking Wall Breaker, which is probably its best set. It runs Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Dragon Pulse, as you see there. Just anything you can think of, Nidoking probably has in its move pool. But it's got some really great special attacks as well. Physical attacks. It gets Super Power, it gets Earthquake, it gets Sucker Punch for a really nice priority. It gets an Aqua Tail, which is pretty powerful. Unfortunately not boosted by Sheer Force, but it gets some really nice moves. Dragon Tail could be a useful utility move. Just a lot of really cool stuff. So Nidoking is going to be putting some fear into the hearts of my opponents and softening up my team, or my opponent's team, for my sweepers like Tomahawk, or maybe a Choice Scarf Excadrill for extreme speed, Entei, something like that. And the name Bane, obviously, most people probably think of the Batman villain when they think of Bane. Just a totally muscular guy played by Tom Hardy in the movies, and just, scaring people. But Bane is also the god of tyranny in the Forgotten Realms universe, and I think that was what really sold me on the nickname Bane. Nidoking, being able to, be a tyrant and scare people and just instill fear into their souls. So I'm really excited to use Nidoking in this league as a good partner to my first 3 Pokemon. Next up, we've got Adam the Rotom. Adam, we're naming him after our good friend the Bee's Knees because he was so disappointed when I drafted Rotom Wash. He was so excited to have it on his team, but I took it like 3 picks before he could make the move. And so with our Clefable and with our Rotom Wash, we have probably the 2 best utility Pokemon in OU. With moves like Volt Switch and Will-O-Wisp and Pain Split, Light Screen, Reflect, stuff like that. It's really got a lot of nice moves. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't really have a great recovery move. Like, Pain Split's okay. It's going to be kind of reliant on leftovers. The other thing that makes Rotom really great is its typing and its ability. Being Electric Water with Levitate, the only thing that it's weak to is Grass. And it just walls so many Pokemon. It walls, almost every flying type. It walls almost every water type. It takes on a lot of really big threats. And, really just wanted this Pokemon. It's another Pokemon that I use a lot in OU. And I just know how to use it. And just really excited to take advantage of its utility. I should mention too, it's really pretty decent as an offensive Pokemon. You slap a Choice Scarf on it and it's pretty fast. Like what, it's base 86, right? Yeah, base 86. That's not slow. That's pretty decent. So put a Choice Scarf on it, go for Volt Switch to get momentum. A Hydro Pump from this thing is not something that you want to take lightly. It takes a lot of damage. So won't be running this strictly defensive. Like, maybe on my team, I'll have to use it defensively most of the time. But if there's a situation where I can use an offensive Rotom Wash, I'll do it. It's going to be awesome. This Pokemon is so good, and so many people hate facing it. And there's a reason, because it's so damn good. Alright, next up, we have another Pokemon that I love to use, Excadrill. I'm really surprised, honestly, that the Excadrill lasted this long. And when I realized that it was still on the board, I knew I had to grab it. And I had my eye on Donphan as a good ground type with Rapid Spin, and that got taken. But when Excadrill was available, I just knew I had to grab it. Not as great defensively, but you know, the specially defensive set in Smogon is pretty well known. The Choice Scarf set is pretty well known. You know, Excadrill it's really versatile because it can be a revenge killer, late game sweeper type. It can be defensive, and it can be utility with Stealth Rocks and Rapid Spin and Toxic and moves like that. It's just such a great Pokemon, and I just felt like it had too much value not to be drafted here. And like I said, I did want another ground type. We're naming it Tuscan after the Tuscan Raiders, who love to be chilling out in that sand in the Star Wars universe. So we don't really have a sand setter on our team, but I bet we can find a way to get the sand up in some game. And our opponents, maybe it almost works out to our advantage because we don't have a sand setter. A Sand Rush Excadrill might kind of come as a surprise. I guess, you know, you don't see that Mold Breaker ability. You gotta think that something's up, and maybe they're not paying attention, or I can bring in Excadrill after another Pokemon sets up Sand, and they're just not prepared. So, gonna be trying to use some innovative Excadrill sets. It's gonna be really great. With the 6th pick, we got another Pokemon that I think inspires fear in the hearts of our opponents, and that's Entei. We're naming it Heath Ledger because Entei wants to watch the world burn. To quote the gentleman Michael Caine. Sacred Fire is not a move that any Pokemon really wants to be taking. With that 50% chance to burn, it's just so good. You think Scald was bad, try switching into Sacred Fire and take that on. Entei gets pretty decent coverage. It gets like Earthquake, and it gets Stone... Or no, it doesn't get Earthquake, sorry, it gets Bulldoze. Gets Stone Edge. Gets decent special moves. I think anyone who's a fan of the GBA knows how cool Special Entei is. The really nice move here is Extreme Speed. Choice Banded Extreme Speed can end games if Pokemon have been sufficiently weakened. So that's something that I'm always going to be keeping in mind. I can Extreme Speed Sweep, and I've got the best priority attack in the game, basically. Body Slam is not a move that any Pokemon really appreciates. Iron Head is great for coverage. So, this is just a Pokemon that does not have switch-ins. That's all there is to it. Even Will-O-Wisp, like, that's a really great utility move. Roar is really nice. People are not going to appreciate switching into Entei. So you're looking at my team. We got a couple of bulky utility mons, but we got a couple of really fearsome offensive threats here. One with a ton of speed, one with a little bit of speed, and 2 that have okay speed. So let's go into the last 5 picks here. So we're gonna look at Benjamin the Bronzong now. Benjamin, obviously, because it looks like a bell, and Benjamin Franklin was he's one of the main people you associate with the Liberty Bell. I really wanted Bronzong to complete the Fairy Dragon Steel Core with Sceptile and Clefable. I guess usually when you think of cores, you think of defensive cores, and Sceptile's not necessarily defensive, but it's got good synergy nonetheless. And Bronzong's got a bunch of nice moves and just really great defensive stats and a good defensive typing. Like, with base 116 in defense and special defense is absurd. It's like one of the bulkiest Pokemon this side of Cresselia. And it's true that it is weak to like fire which is a common typing, is weak to Dark and Ghost, which are both pretty common typings. But Levitate makes it weak or immune to Ground, which would be an otherwise pretty crippling weakness. Because of the Psychic typing, it does take fighting hits neutrally. And then it just resists so much stuff. It resists Grass, it resists Dragon, it resists Fairy. You know, it resists a lot of common attacking types. Obviously takes nothing from Poison. So this is going to be a really great defensive check to a lot of Pokemon on my opponent's teams. And most of our team, as I mentioned, is pretty offensive up to this point, so I really wanted a defensive Pokemon. Something that could set up Stealth Rock, something that can go for Toxic, something that can hit off with nice Steel moves. Also gets Screens, gets Rock Polish, it's not necessarily useful. But it's just, you know, Bronzong's annoying for people to deal with. And I really anticipate Bronzong putting in some nice work this season. Next up, we've got good old Samuel. You might as well call him Uncle Samuel. Mr. Captain America here, Braviary. Really wanted Braviary because I think it's a good offensive partner for Sableye, or not Sableye, Sceptile. If Sceptile can take out, you know, Pokemon such as Heatran or other Steel types with, you know, the Earthquake type move, or take out Rock types, which also Braviary doesn't appreciate. Nidoking also breaks through Braviary's checks. I can just come in here and go for really awesome Brave Birds, really strong Brave Birds. It also gets Defog, and I did want another Defogger on the team if possible. Probably end up putting it on most sets just because there's not extra coverage that I'd like to run. You know, I can run Frustration here or Return, you know, whatever. You know, if I'm in a good mood and in a nice mood to don't want to be mean to my Pokemon, I can run Return instead. Home Gloss is a pretty interesting move actually, but unfortunately it doesn't really have the speed to take advantage of a move like Home Claws. And then Superpower I think is the main move that most people will have their eye on with something like Braviary. Just the flying fighting coverage is so good. It's so good. There's nothing that resists that combination. Unfortunately, Superpower is just a little bit mediocre compared to something like Close Combat from Staraptor. And the speed stat on this Pokemon is a little bit weak compared to Staraptor. But Staraptor's tier 2, or tier 1, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure tier 2. Braviary is tier 4, so for that amount of value, I think I had to take Braviary. And again, the offensive synergy was really great. Also worth mentioning is that it gets Defiant. And if there's a lot of Pokemon in this league that are really reliant on having Stealth Rock off the field, such as, you know, Mega Charizard, Talonflame, Volcarona, stuff like that. So if we are up against an opponent that's going to be relying on a Defogger, we can bring Braviary and abuse that. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Samuel. We'll go to our next Pokemon, the Gun Show. This man, you know, give him a school suspension. He's bringing his guns to school. He is scary. He is powerful. And as I mentioned, you know, I think you guys are seeing a team here. There's a lot of Pokemon on this team that are going to be scaring out opponents' walls. Just going to be breaking them down. Obviously, Fighting in Dark is a really great stab combination. It's only really resisted by Fairy. And guess what? This thing gets both Poison Jab and Gunk Shot. So Fairies aren't even a great switch into this either. The only real downfall, of course, is its speed. But a lot of bulky walls don't have a lot of speed either. So who cares? Just get enough speed to outspeed certain walls and knock them out. And if you need to set up, but in order to do so, you go for a Swords Dance and you kill something. That's just how this Pokemon's going to work. Gets a lot of other decent coverage as well. As you can see, it gets like Earthquake, it gets the Elemental Punches. Hammer Arm is, I guess, kind of a cool move, but it's kind of, I guess it's outclassed by like Superpower. Drain Punch is really nice for recovery. Does get Home Claws, does get Bulk Up for additional boosting options. It gets Power Up Punch as well. It gets Parting Shot, which is a really interesting move. I think it's the only Parting Shot user in the game. So that's something that our opponents are going to have to keep in mind. If they want to switch in an offensive threat to this, or just anything. We can threaten him with a parting shot, bring in a Pokemon that can then tank any hit, and go for another really powerful move in retaliation with basically no consequences. So, well, we'll have to see about Pangoro. At this point in the draft, I will go ahead and talk about this in the draft. I'm really happy that I got Pangoro, but I wish I had taken Greninja with this pick. Because it also had it has the dark typing, but it's got a really tremendous speed, which my team is starting to look like it's lacking just a little bit. And one thing I really wanted to get on this team was Spikes and Toxic Spikes, which Greninja has both of. And so I'm a little disappointed that I didn't make that pick. I didn't realize that it was still available when I made this pick, and I was like, crap, please stay another round, and it got taken. So I was really mad that I wasn't able to make that pick up. But that doesn't mean I feel bad about Pangoro on my team. Pangoro's a monster. There are not really switch-ins to this thing. It's just going to be a question of, can we outspeed with this Pokemon? This video is being a little bit longer than I intended. I apologize, guys. But there's only 2 more, as you can see. And our second to last Pokemon is You Mad Bro. I've never really used Cloyster, I'm going to be honest. But I have faced Cloyster, and I've never felt good about myself after facing a Cloyster. Just Focus Sash plus Shell Smash. It's just so goofy. It's so good. And if you don't have priority on your team, you're going to have a hard time taking Cloyster down. If you don't have a Pokemon like Aggron or something like that. Just between Icicle Spear, Rock Blast, Razor Shell, it's really nice. It even gets Explosion, which is really cool. And we'll have to see if we end up using it or not, but it also gets Rapid Spin. That was another reason that I wanted it. And look at all this amazing coverage, like Poison Jab. That's great. The other reason that I wanted to take Cloyster as well is for the reason that I just mentioned. I wanted Spikes and Toxic Spikes on my team, and Cloyster runs both. So we can run a Focus Sash Shell Smash set, or we can run a Focus Sash lead set and set up some hazards and really bother our opponents. So Cloyster going to be doing a lot of offensive work, has a little bit of utility as well. I guess you also can't ignore that enormous defense stat, but Cloyster doesn't really have the typing to take advantage of that, being part ice. Doesn't really help shore up any of the weaknesses from the water type at all, so it ends up being weak to electric, grass, rock, fighting. I guess the water typing helps eliminate the steel weakness. But you guys get my point. Cloyster is not a tremendous defensive Pokemon. I guess, if you really wanted to, you could run like an Assault Vest set with full special defense investment. But it just doesn't get any recovery to, it doesn't get Regenerator or anything like that to really take advantage of Assault Vest. So anyway, Cloyster is going to be pissing off some people in this league, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And last but not least, we went with my buddy Scorpio. I wanted Armaldo because, Tier 5 is a little bit short in other really great options. And this thing gets Rapid Spin, which is nice. It's got pretty decent defensive stats, especially if you're running with something like Assault Vest. And it just gets a really nice physical move pool. It gets priority with Aqua Jet, which if you set up Swift Swim and you have the rain, Aqua Jet can be pretty nice. It gets a lot of really great coverage. Obviously, Stone Edge and X-Scissor are pretty nice for stab. Superpower, Knockoff is a really awesome move, obviously. But yeah, the Rapid Spin is what I really wanted. I wanted another good spinner on this team. So we have 3 spinners and 1 defogger. So we have a lot of options. We're not going to be stuck into bringing 1 Pokemon every week just to get rid of hazards. Also, I should mention Stealth Rock is another great move on here. So we have a lot of Stealth Rockers on the team as well, with Benjamin and Nidoking and Excadrill and Clefable. We have a lot of options for Stealth Rock. We're not going to have a hard time fitting it on our teams or having to compromise synergy just to get hazards up. So that is Scorpio. And Scorpio's not really a special name. He just kind of looks like a scorpion, and he looks kind of badass. So we went with Scorpio. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with this team. I do anticipate making some moves later in the season to bring it closer to a balanced team than a straight-up offensive team, because they're going to end up being certain Pokemon where I just don't have defensive checks to them. And, or, you know, I'm going to be kind of forced to use Clefable and Rotom only as defensive Pokemon, but I'd love the ability to use them offensively or to use them in different roles. Like, you know, I don't want to have to use Clefable whenever I want to bring a Cleric. That might be nice to have a secondary option, or, you know, stuff like that. But rather than make 3 moves right off the bat, I'm going to play 1 or 2 games, see how the roster shakes out, get a better feel for what the weaknesses are, and then make a decision. I don't want to make any knee-jerk reactions to my team. And my team just looks fun. I know a lot of people like to play, you know, balance or semi-stall, but I think this is going to be really great for me, and it's going to scare a lot of people in this league. So I do want to thank you guys for watching. Sorry that ended up being a little longer than I had planned. Wow, a lot longer than I had planned. But hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to check back for more videos and more games from this league. And yeah, I will catch you guys later. See ya.